And Rui and I tonight are going to use sort of an interview format, which we put together a series of questions that I think will provide some illustration of what we potentially might face going through the Straits of Gibraltar and the entrances to that area. I'm going to share my screen for a couple of slides to give you some context, and then we'll open it up to a series of discussion between with Rui, who is obviously an expert and who, as Simon mentioned, has been cataloging sightings and attacks for years now, and has some interesting observations about sort of best practices. And I guess by way of introduction, let me just share my screen here. Let's see, here we go. Okay, great. All right, terrific. So I think the sort of the basic gist of what I want to describe tonight is the classic, if I only knew then what I know now. But when you consider all the things that can happen to a boat while you're aboard, sinking and any variety of things, having the bottom of your rudder bit off is really not as big of a deal, but it was certainly terrifying. And it has made for a great story, I got to tell you. So, my background, I was immediate past president of the Salty Dog Sailing Association and rally director for 5 years. And just wanted you to see briefly what my boat is. Pandora is a 47-foot semi-custom sloop. And I want to draw your attention to the rudder. It's a spade rudder, and as you can see, it's just about as deep as the keel. And the way it was constructed was turned out to be rather fortuitous, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But as Simon said, I sailed across the Atlantic. This was the first year that Salty Dog did a rally to the Azores. I started in Trinidad and worked my way up to Bermuda and then on over to Horta. This was my track. It ends in Gibraltar, but now the boat is in Almerimar. But there's a pod of orcas, and I'm not going to dwell on this because I know Rui is a big expert on this, but it's a pretty localized activity with a discrete number of participants. So in my preparation, I did go to orcas.pt, and you can search the site for a particular location in a particular period. And this, when I went through last July, I looked to see what kind of activity had been there in the previous 2 months. And the red circles represent attacks, and the blue sightings. So I made a decision, which turned out to be a bad decision, but I made the decision thinking, well, there's not a lot of activity down near Tangier, so I'm going to go down that way. Well, I was wrong about that. And I should note that there's a lot of activity. I have never seen so many boats going through. And this is me, this little blue square, about the time when I was attacked. One of my crew members, I guess, noted this. But the point is, there's a lot of activity there. And yet, in spite of all of that, they've still managed, the orcas, to find me. And that's the pin where I was hit. As you can see, I made it almost the whole way through, but didn't. So so this is this is a video, which I'm going to show you very quickly. It's just about 2 minutes. And this is just to give you a sense of the back of my boat has a scoop, and you can see these are really big animals. And there were about 4 or 5 of them involved in the attack at the time. And I will say, one of the things you're supposed to do is keep a very close lookout. We were not, as I guess we were all kind of a little bit complacent, but they all of a sudden they were there. So let me get to the next. Where are we here? Oh, got stuck on it. There we go. So on the left, you can see the after, and then now the boat's been repaired. It doesn't look like much, but it was a pretty big chunk. And at the next day, I sawed it off, and of course, I couldn't resist taking a bit of a bite out of it. I also made the mistake of leaving my hydrovane in place because I thought, well, if I get hit by an orca, I want to make sure that I have a way to steer the boat. Well, once they finished off with the primary rudder, they took this out. And in some ways, I think this was more upsetting because it seemed to take a lot of pounding to break it. And Rui is going to talk about that because the fact that I had the bottom of my rudder broke off very easily, it turns out it was designed that way. The shaft only went down 2/3 with basically a sacrificial bottom, designed to break off in the event of a grounding. I doubt the designer or builder thought about it from a standpoint of orca attack. But believe me, they pound until something breaks. And I just should note that I was telling Simon, I'm very much interested in we're going to spend the next 3 seasons in the Mediterranean. And the boat now is in Almerimar, where the red spot is, and we're going to work our way up to Sardinia in the first 2 months. And then what I'd really like to do is see if I can get together with some of you all now that we're in the Mediterranean. I love organizing events and so forth. So I'll put this screen up at the end with contact information for me and Rui, because of course we like to hear from all of you. So I think for the moment, I'm going to stop sharing and start with a discussion with Rui. So let me get back out of that and pull up my notes. So, okay, so I thought that a good place to start, Rui, tonight would
Yes.
be the so talk a little bit about how when you started the site and your motivation for doing that.
So good evening, everybody. So we start Orcas PTs. Well, the begin was in October 2022. Was a moment where there was a year where there was a lots of incidents with the orcas, lots of attacks, lots of sightings, lots of movement. So and I decided to I was looking for all these incidents and I could never find a concentration of information. So there was no place where we could find the information, what to do, where are the orcas, and what is the investigations about the orcas. So I decided to start with a WhatsApp group. In this WhatsApp group, in 6 months, becomes a 1,000 members group. So I had to move to Telegram. I create a website where we have all these events. So this was the way. It was a little bit a thing that I was doing in the free time, then becomes more and more time, busy time. And now it's, let's say, after 3 years, it's a long work and is a nice community.
So the talk a little bit about, I mean, when I was making my preparations and I keep a blog and wrote a lot about my thinking ahead on this. And all my friends kept saying, Bob, the odds of getting hit are pretty slim. And yet, I guess all it takes is one hit, and suddenly it doesn't feel very slim. How many boats, cruising boats, transit this area every year?
We speak about 30,000 to 40,000 because it's not only the area of Gibraltar, it's also the boats that comes from Biscay Bay, from UK, from Germany, from France, and cross and comes through Gibraltar, through north of Spain. So and all the west coast of Portugal. So it's everything from France to Gibraltar, let's say, all this coast, all this Iberic Peninsula.
And what percentage of the sightings and attacks? I mean, obviously, there's other places people go to. What do you figure percentage of the attacks you're capturing? I know for sure mine's there.
Yes. We have now, last year, 128. Okay. Uh, 1 year before was 112. The 2023, 146. So this a big percentage of the attacks. There are maybe few that are not reported or something, but most of the attacks.
So the odds of getting struck are relatively low.
Yes, especially now that people are informed about what to do in the cases that you have a orca attack. Let's say orca doesn't attack the boat, but the rudder. So it's anyway a rudder attack or interactions, as some people wants to call. The percentage is very low. If we see the percentage is really very low.
So I showed a slide of the pod, or at least one of the pods. Could you talk a little bit about the number of individuals that there are in total in the area and what percentage of them are actually involved in these attacks and maybe how that's come to be?
Okay, so we are speaking about 30 to 40 orcas. Okay, depends on the census, depends on the scientists that are observing them. and depends of the years because sometimes they come all together or not. So we are speaking about a small community for the orcas, 30 to 40 orcas. From these 30 to 40 orcas is the young ones that are caring about the rudder, that find it funny and interesting to play with the rudder and to break the rudders. So it's about 10, 10 to 12, maybe people are speaking 16, but it's a small percentage.
Well, I think I've met half of them personally. So,
Yes.
but so there's really not many of these animals, and so it is an endangered species. And I've certainly heard plenty of people say, "Well, wait, they're sinking my boat. I got to do something about that." But are the number you talked a moment ago about the more people are doing a better job of avoiding the problem. Could you talk a little bit about, my strategy was to go south, and I've heard that being in shallow water is a good thing, but you seem to suggest, and I believe you, that I should have done something very different. Why don't you describe the process?
Yes, okay. So it's a good thing to go in shallow waters. What is shallow waters? Is waters that have the deep less than 20 meters. Why? Because there is no tuna there, so the orcas don't go there. Okay, and they are looking for tuna. Basically, the orcas are not looking for rudders. The rudders are passing near the orcas, and they say, "Oh, that's something funny to play." But they are looking for tuna, so we don't have tuna under 20 meters. But there is areas where we have more quantity of tuna that they always move, like north of Tanger. Okay, that's why we say, okay, don't set side of the Strait of Gibraltar is not a good area to go because first you cannot keep inside the 20 meters, very difficult, and then you have a lots of tuna there. There is a lots of fishermen also there, and tuna goes there, and the orcas go behind the tuna. Okay, it's always the story. The orcas are there because of the tuna, and there is a big concentration of tuna in that area. So if you go off the north side of the strait, you have really the 20 meters. You can go and do all the way inside the 20 meters, inside the shallow waters without any danger, any risk.
So if I were to do this again,
Mhm.
you would tell me or tell others to head towards the northern coast. So talk a
Yes.
little bit about that strategy.
Yes. First, if you come from Açores, you should go in direction of Sagres, go to near the coast, okay? And to avoid, because if you don't go, you are always in the deep between 200 meters, 300 meters, 400 meters. This is a nice tip for the tuna, is a nice tip for the orcas. The orcas and the tuna usually between, let's say, the 20 meters and the 350 meters, but they go until 500 meters. Okay, the tuna knows that if they go very deep, they are safe from the orcas. Orcas cannot swim so deep. So this is why in Sagres you should go near the coast and then follow the 20 meters. There are many reasons for that. One reason is the shallow waters. The other reason is the information. You have many observation boats there. So it's you know immediately if there are orcas around. Okay, and visiting my site, you will find it. But also because I have a lots of people, observers there, scientists. So you followed all that coast until Cadiz. If from Cadiz you follow until Gibraltar, but always keeping inside the 20 meters.
So as I noticed in my preparation, that the number of attacks is can change seasonally, and that while the attacks are not are at a low point, I guess during the time when I was transiting, there was times that are even worse. So talk about that seasonality in broad strokes. Where do
Okay.
they go?
There is a scientist defends a theory that the orcas attack the rudders or go play with the rudders when they don't have nothing to do. So it means if there is a lots of tuna, okay, like in the summertime, for example, in March, April, May, there is a lots of tuna in the Strait of Gibraltar. They don't need to hunt. It's easy to find tuna, so they are not so busy hunting. they are going to search for rudders to play. In winter time, okay, they move where is more tuna. Even if they stay sometimes in the strait, this year there is a big group that is staying in the strait. They have more difficulties to find tuna. So they are busy all the day searching for tuna. So they are not caring so much about the boats. Okay. So in winter time, for example, now February or March starts, the orca starts to concentrate in a Strait of Gibraltar because tuna is going out of the strait, so of the Med, and they are waiting there for eating. If you want to go, for example, go to Galicia, okay? To go to Galicia, you can go there without a big risk, let's say, until July. After July, there is a group of orcas that is moving to Galicia, okay? This is the seasons that we have now. So we have a season where is more concentrated is between March and June, July in Gibraltar. And after that, they go to Algarve, they go to north until Galicia.
So there's been lots of discussion about their motivation. It sounds like this is recreation.
Yes, scientists say that. They say that if you go with a bicycle, if there is a lots of dogs, the dogs go behind you also. And they say the orcas is the same. If you go with your boat, there is a group of orcas, many orcas together. They don't have nothing to do, especially the young ones. And they go behind the boat playing like the dolphins also make. Only that they don't like that thing that is moving there, that is the rudder, and they force the rudder to break it, of course.
Well, the practice when many of us have seen videos of boats that have, usually they show the videos of the sinking boats, but being hit, it was really violent. The back of my boat was shoved. I don't know. It felt like the boat was going to spin around. I mean, it hit so hard. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, I assumed there'd be bite marks, but there weren't.
No, they go with the nose and they try with the nose to break the rudder. They push the rudder to the side. They go. There is a video that showing this in my website because it's made it by scientists. They put the rudders in boats, and the orcas were filmed doing what they do usually. They go with the nose and they push the rudder to one side, push the rudder to one side. So they break the rudder, but they break also all the mechanism that you have around the rudder. If you have a autopilot, for example, if you have any bars, some things, they can break this. And in your case, the bottom of the rudder, that is the area where they push, broke immediately like a fuse. It was like a fuse. So was a good thing, yeah, because of that they could not break really the rest of the autopilot and all these bars supporting the rudder. All this.
Yeah, I actually ran into someone in Gibraltar when I was wandering around, and he told me that his entire drive system on his quadrant was broken, as was the autopilot RAM.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't, and which surprised me. I don't exactly know why it didn't break because it was engaged, but I guess what the recommendation is when you're going through that area, you hand steer. And I can
Yes.
say personally, once it disengaged, I mean, the wheel was violently going back and forth.
Yeah. Because the reason is that you have the autopilot, and the autopilot always, if there is a movement pushing in one direction, you will contradict. You will make a very big force in the other direction. So you will broke not only the rudder but also the bars and all the things. After depends, there is a lots of autopilots, and there are more modern that also break. There is a part make it to break, and there are others that breaks the support of the autopilot. That is the reason also for sinking boats.
Well, I made a conscious decision to have an auxiliary rudder, tiller put on my hydrovane, and I left it in the water, and that was a big mistake because much of the damage was done to that. So in my particular case, they took out the rudder the main rudder. Then they seemed to lose interest, but then they took off. Then they went out against the hydrovane, and they took them a lot more damage. They had to bang it a lot more. And but the my last boat, which was a production boat, the rudder shaft ran right to the bottom of the rudder. And I guess that's not great because, as you mentioned, they keep at it until something breaks. And in my case, it broke real fast.
Yes.
But in other cases, I guess what happens is that the quadrant that holds the rudder to the lower
Mhm.
bearing breaks away, and now you've got a bushel basket size hole in your boat. But if I'm not mistaken, the number of boats out of this, say, 850 or so that have been attacked over the last few years, only a
Mhm.
handful have sunk. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so last year we had about 25 boats that went to the yard, really. Okay, because of the in 128 attacks. Okay, we have about 25. And most of the cases are because the people wait there. The people think that stopping the boat is the right decision. Okay, well, there is only one government that makes tests with this. That was the Spanish government, and the recommendation is to leave the area as fast as possible. If you stay there, the orca will play with this until she breaks something. It's the rudder or the rest. If the rudder is strong, we have a boat in north of Portugal. The guys were buy a 5,000 euros boat, and they make a very nice renovation. They make everything new. Okay, so what happens was that the rudder they thought by all the reasons, not only because of orcas, thought we may have to put a very strong rudder. Okay, they make it very strong, but not the fixation. So what happens was the rudder was strong, they push it, they push it, they push it, they stop the boat, they push it, they push it, they push it until they break the other parts of the rudder, the fixation. So, and then it was the entry of water and very fast the boat went down. So the thing is also that don't stop the boat. If you stop the boat, the orcas can stay there between 20 minutes and 2 hours. They can stand all the time. You are still in the playground of them. If you leave the area, in 5 minutes you are out of the playground of the orcas.
So they won't follow you all that long. Well,
No,
I,
the young ones they will follow, but look, after thousand, so 1 mile more or less, 1,000 to 2,000 meters, 1 mile, they lost the communication with the old ones. Okay, once they lost the communication, they feel loose, and they say, "No, no, we will not follow the boat. I will come back to the main group, and we'll quit." So what we are speaking, 1 mile at 5 knots, it's nothing, yeah. So you are in 10 minutes, you are out of the area. Maybe with half of the rudder, but we are out, you are out of the area. Maybe you have to have an emergency rudder. Yes, you have to have something. Maybe you have to make some solution, but you are out of the area of the orcas.
so you're basically heading for shore ASAP.
Yes,
Now,
you
what
go this.
about, I think, what about zigzagging or you
Uh,
just pedal to the metal, right?
Some sailors do this. They go out of this area and they make a kind of zigzag with the rudder to avoid that the orcas, when they follow, that they touch with the nose in the rudder. They see, okay, now comes the orca. I push the boat a little bit to the other direction. Then I go. So they try to avoid that she touch the rudder. Okay.
So my boat, as I showed, has a spade rudder. Is there any difference in the damage of, say, skeg hung rudders or in more traditional full keel boat?
We have, I tried to make a statistic of all the kind of rudders, but then you have old rudders, new rudders, carbon rudders, you have lots and lots of size. So it's not the kind of rudder that makes a difference. It's really if the rudder is strong enough for the movements that the orcas are doing, so for this pushing. Okay. If your rudder is strong enough, it give you a little bit time to go out of there and to keep the roots. It's important.
What about catamarans versus monohulls? Do they tend to take out both rudders on a catamaran?
Yes,
Oh,
if
great.
they can, they will go try the boat. And what we're finding is catamarans has a very small rudder usually in comparison with the mono, and it's easier to break it also.
Great.
Yeah.
Are they hitting commercial boats too?
Yes, they are not carrying. They if it's even fishing boats, they try, but fishing boats are built in a completely different way. The rudder is much stronger, and the boat can leave the area very fast. The guy put the motor and goes.
There's been some discussion about acoustic deterrents. Can you talk a little bit about those?
And there is some examples, okay, but scientists study this, and they make no difference for the orcas. The scientists say that this is a way to say the orca, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. So you don't wait, don't think that animal 5 tons, 7 tons will go away because you have something making a small beep in your boat, because this doesn't work. They get used to this kind of things. Dolphins also get used to this kind of devices. So they don't care. They are getting used with the noise in Gibraltar Strait. You see how many boats, how many ships you have there, how many noise. So it's not now the noise of a small device that you buy for 500 euros, put in the water that will scare the orcas. Yeah, we have many cases that the people say, "Oh, but I had a pinger, I had some device." Yes, but this device was saying, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here," and the orca knew,
That's
okay, there is a boat there. Go,
that's
let's
right.
go.
Well, so in the case of just other people crossing the Atlantic, and then so the logical timing is that you leave Bermuda in June or late April, May. Maybe spend some time in the Azores like we did, which I'll tell everybody it is an amazing place if you haven't been there. We spent a
Mhm.
whole month there, and I hated to leave. And then so now you're hitting the Iberian Peninsula in mid-July to or even August. Are you better off going straight through or stopping and say wintering in Lagos if you want to? Like in our case, we're seasonal cruisers. We don't live on the boat. Should we have done that?
It could be a possibility. I say it's difficult to say. I'm so. If, for example, in September you have, let's say, usually is when you have in August 20 cases, you have in September 10 cases. Okay. September is a good month to pass the strait because there are more cases in north of Spain. Okay. You have more situations in north of Spain. It's usually a very quiet time in Gibraltar area. Now you can choose, for example, if you want to come to Gibraltar to come in September, October, so you avoid probably more of, you have less probability that you have an incident with orcas, okay?
Better that than April.
Yes, better
Yeah,
than in
okay.
April,
That's
May,
what I
June.
thought.
There is a tuna traps in the area of Gibraltar, okay, in that area, and the orcas goes to Barbat, goes to areas like this to search for these tuna traps.
So are you pretty much safe once you get through the strait, or there's been some attacks on the med side?
Now, we had 1 year when a group went inside the Med, the first 20 miles, okay? And then they come back and they make it 2 or 3 cases, two or three attacks. But it's not usually that they stay always from that side, also because of temperature of the water, because it's the region where they live, okay? Even before all these incidents, they were living there, and they stay always in that area, west of Gibraltar.
So, Rui, are there any other things in particular that you've picked up on? I mean, for example, is what do you think is going to happen over time?
I think that it will be difficult that this stops. Will be a little bit like the weather. It's something that a risk that the sailors is going to to get used to this, but they have to be informed and do a preparation. You have to take time. You take time to see the weather. What is the weather for next week? And if you know there are containers because there are boats, you are going to check the area also. So you have to put the orcas now in the preparation of your trip as a subject. Not only I asked once, it was in September, in October, and I saw that many people are taking 10 minutes to think about the orcas before they start a trip. It's not a subject for 10 minutes, it's a subject for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half to see the videos, to see my website. If you have questions, send me an email. Come to the Telegram groups. We have Telegram groups. In these Telegram groups, we have also people that speak, we interact, okay? And we have the alarms and the alerts when there is an incident. I have a question here about
Yeah.
firecrackers. I will answer. So firecrackers, from point of view of explosive, let's say, is illegal. Okay, firecracker it's something that you drop in the water, usually to make a big noise. Okay, scientists say that is illegal, so don't think about this. I say if you have other options why you are using firecrackers, okay, you are not going to put some light a fire inside the boat when you are stressed, okay? When you want to put the boat in maximal speed to go away of that area, okay? You can come in incident. You have a British boat that was sunk. The guy put firecrackers. They put everything what he could to stop the orcas of attacking the rudder of the caring about the rudder, and was also no solution. So firecrackers as a solution, orcas go away for that moment, and then they come back after some minutes, maybe or not. It's a I don't think if you go do the trip inside the 20 meters, you don't need firecrackers. If you can leave the area as fast as possible, you don't need firecrackers. If you can
So,
plan your trip, you can don't need firecrackers.
so the idea is to spend your time getting out of the way instead of trying to figure out how to stop it. Best way to
Yes,
stop it is to get out of Dodge.
yes.
On the west coast of the U.S., the orcas were playing by putting a salmon on their forehead and swimming around with it for weeks and weeks. They gave up on that, and I guess it's because it didn't have nearly the appeal of bashing rudders. But I think that the message here is that there are strategies, and my regret is that while I thought I knew, I looked a lot at your at the timing, where to go, and so forth and so on. But the mistake was I really didn't appreciate the importance of maybe talking to you, although we've talked plenty since then. But as I said earlier, given all the things that can happen to a boat, this one turned out to be certainly a crowd pleaser. I guess it's a little bit like watching a NASCAR. People don't watch it to watch the cars go around, they watch it to watch crashes. And I'm glad that I could entertain a bunch of people with what I'm actually giving a presentation next week, and I did one last week in our area because everyone wants to hear about it. But it's taken a lot more time to tell the story than it did to do it. But I'll tell you, it was absolutely terrifying. Are there anything you think that we've missed, Rui, and you, Simon, if you think there's something
There
else
is
we
a
can cover?
question.
Yeah.
Ted asked about motoring backwards. Let me see one thing. You are sailing, okay? You are 5 knots in one direction. So you see the orcas, you have to stop the boat. You have to come with the boat backwards. Boat is not made it, a sailing boat is not made it in the IC to make backwards. This is a movement for the ports, for the harbors. Okay, so the moment that you are stopping, you are giving time to the orcas to go to play with your rudder. Time that you are going to backwards is slower than going continue your movement. Go away from there. You cannot go backwards in 5 knots. Yeah, you are going to make it this in 1 knot with difficulties, and you are forcing your rudder. Your rudder is not made for that movement, but leave the area as fast as possible is the best. The people say, but I have done this, and the orcas lost interest. They didn't lose interest because they thought, oh, the guy is now backwards. No, they lost interest because they lost interest. They would lost interest also if you continue, if you go out of the area. Okay, it's the same thing. Only that you put in risk your boat because backwards in icy with waves and the currents and everything, it's not normal. It's not a movement. It's not a sailing boat is not done for that. Even a motorboat will do it, but it's not backwards. It exists in the boats because of the maneuvers in the ports. There's another question. Is there any movement to government tagging the Orca? Yes, there was until now, there was nine tags that were put it in the Orcas. The tags, they take, sometimes they stay 2 weeks, sometimes they stay 2 months. Okay. And the information was given from my side to the sailors where the Orcas were. Okay, the sailors could in my groups, in Telegram groups, and in my website, they could see where the orcas were. Yes, even even in that time, there was anyway incidents with the orcas because there are boats that say, "Oh, I take the risk. I don't care. I go." So there was, but yes, there is tags, and this year there is. We are going to have more tags, and we are going to inform about the orcas. Yes.
Simon, anything you think we've missed?
Yeah, I've got a few questions, but I'd just like to invite people to put their questions in the chat as they are. I'm happy to bring those people in to join as presenters so that we can see and hear you if you want to do that. Or if you want to put your electronic hand up, I will do the same. So encourage audience to participate as much as possible. I can see there's a question there from Matt. So just while I'm thinking, I will try and invite Matt to
While you're doing that, it occurs to me, nighttime. Is there any difference between attacks during the day and at night?
The attack itself, no. The orcas don't care if it's night or day. Okay? The problem is that during the night you have more difficult because you don't see, you cannot put someone on watch and say, hey, you stay in watch to see if there is orcas approaching the boat. Then it's to have a rescue is very difficult. You have to think that rescue are not for towing the boats, okay? Rescue are for rescuing the lives. So they sometimes they give the option. You find a company that you will tow your boat, and I made this once at 2 o'clock. I tried to organize a tow for a boat in near Lisbon, so in Sines. It was difficult at 2 o'clock in the night to find someone to go tow a boat because the rescue service was saying for them to save the people was okay, but not the boat. So the people, if they want to be saved, we have to jump out of the boat and then we go to fetch them.
Well, it's
Uh,
scary enough during the day. I can't even imagine what it'd be like at night. So, Matt,
yes,
you're,
yes.
you're still muted. Why don't you unmute yourself? There you
Hey,
go.
it wasn't really a question, more just a comment and a thank you to Rui and Orca PT. We did the trip this summer. We left the UK and we coastal hopped the whole way, and going on Orca PT became part of our morning routine with coffee. Every day we'd look. If there was a sighting or an interaction nearby within 2 or 3 days, we just stayed put. And we actually ended up having a really wonderful time because we saw far more of Spain and Portugal than we would have otherwise. We're quite a slow boat, so only sailing in daylight hours, we could only do 30 or 40 miles a day. So yeah, we really slowed down, really enjoyed Spain, really enjoyed Portugal all the way to Gibraltar, and didn't have a single sighting or interaction. So thanks Rui, and yeah, get on the Telegram groups and just be smart about it. We had a wonderful time.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to get that as a comment, actually. A couple of questions from me, Rui. Elsewhere, so I've seen all sorts of, I think, AI-generated reports of orca attacks in goodness only knows where, the Arctic, whatever. That's all hocus pocus. This is just constrained to the Iberian Peninsula, is that right? Or are there
Yes,
things behind
there
it?
is. So some scientists say there is sometimes in the other places where orcas are more interesting for the boats. Okay, a little bit like the dolphins They are also from the family of dolphins, but really making this kind of damage is only in that area, is only that group of orcas. It's like this, no special reason why. It's difficult to understand.
And you say this is a behavioural pattern of young orcas. When does a young orca become an older or mature orca and go out of these vandalistic behaviours?
We hope that scientists, everybody likes a little bit orcas in hope that when two orcas are adults, that becomes two babies. There are two babies new. So I don't know.
So
I cannot answer to this question, okay?
there's no data on that one. I've
No.
invited Peter to join and ask his question if he gets the invitation. I think he is connecting. While he is connecting, sailing versus motoring, Rui, is there any difference? Are you safer
There is a
8 knots under
difference.
sail or 6 knots under motor? Which is the safest?
There is a difference if you find that 20 meters, for example, to go 20 meters, you are very near the coast, okay?
Yeah.
Then you put the motor because you are flexible. If
Okay.
if you have to react, you don't have to have the time to put sails down, to connect the motor, to do this thing. You are, yeah. But if you have, I don't know, 5 miles, a big part in 20 meters, then you can sail. It's more this that you as skipper understand a little bit weather, the distance, the range that you have there until the 20 meters that you say, okay, I take the decision to use motor because there is a risky area. Or in the case that yesterday there was a orca in the area. Okay. So then I tell you, hey, don't take a risk, put the motor immediately because then you are going to be faster. You are arriving faster from the other side, from the port. You are reacting faster also. It's better not to take it.
So motoring full speed ahead.
Yes.
Peter, if you want to unmute and ask your question, that would be great.
So there's a question of, it's a statement of Peter. Yeah, there is some risks, of course, but in tuna nets, the tuna nets are very well known. It's more the other kind of nets that we can find inside the 20 meters, but it's like sailing, so there is always a risk there.
And anybody else got any questions? I can't see any hands up. Anybody got any comments or want to book onto Bob's trip to Cartagena? How long are you going to be in the Mediterranean for, Bob?
The question about the spikes on the rudder, okay? There is some pictures in internet about the spikes on the rudders, okay? There is a study, and the study is from the Whale Commission, okay? That is not putting spikes on the rudders, that is putting something that make the rudder not flat and not, how can I say, a comfortable area to be touched. Okay, the spikes are not to make the damage in the orcas. Okay, it's only that the orcas, when they touch with the nose, they don't feel this is a nice area to touch. Okay, like the pigeons and like the other things. So there are some studies to make this. Yes, found lots of nets marks. Yes.
Question for you, Bob. Can you see that? It's
Yes.
Sally.
Matt is correct. There is lots of tuna nets, or lots of tuna marked with IAS beacons, yes. Question for how long was it before you were free of forecast? Hi to Bob. Bob, there is a question for you.
Okay, what is the question here? Oh, how long was it before I was free? It was over. Let me say it was it seemed like an hour, but it was probably 10 minutes.
Okay.
And it was so violent, and then it was just immediately they got bored and they just left. But it took as long as it took to break both rudders.
So I'm bringing in Neil McCoupin has his hand up, so I've asked him to join as a panelist. So yeah, Neil's coming in. Good evening, Neil from British Columbia. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, well, first of all, thank you very much, the two of you, for a very good presentation. Living now in the west coast of BC, and we see orcas a lot. There have been absolutely no reports of problems anywhere up and down the coast that I've heard. Uh, so hopefully the orcas around your area stay there. I sailed through there 10 years ago, I guess, before the trouble started. But thanks again for good presentation.
There is a question here from Toyn about the route from Ireland to Madeira. Okay, let's see. In the west coast of Portugal, if you stay in the longitude west, 10 west, okay, we don't have incidents there. So it's very deep waters. It's more than 1,000 meters. And it is very, very low, probably, that we have an incident with orcas there. So go west of 10 west, and usually you probably stay safe. It's a question about sightings.
Angie and Alex, you can. I think you got the question there from Rui, but you're welcome to come back to him if you want to.
Yes, there is a question for Angie from Angie and Alex.
Hi there.
Hi, you are right in the question. Okay, there is some areas that we say, oh, but we don't see many attacks, interactions, whatever. Yes, sometimes it's because there are less boats, like winter time, yeah. Okay, the groups of orcas are there, but we have less. So that's why I say it's an interactive group, Orcas PT. We have the Telegram groups. You come to the Telegram groups, and then you speak with me. Say, okay, it's now March. Okay, and now I want to go from A to B. And then I help you to say, okay, well, look, the orcas are 2 days, 3 days from there. Okay, go now there. Wait a little bit in the port 2, 3 days because there is a group going north. So go to there. There is the groups are the Telegram group is interactive. So it's not that you are only visiting a site. It's also speaking, and you get also all the information. Okay, but you are right. There is sometimes areas where we say, yeah, there are less incidents. Yes, or not. It's because we have less boats. If you go to Cap Spartel, North Tanger, there is moments where the people don't go to there, and there are less incidents, but we have orcas there. And then the scientists' boats that we have contacts. I have a network of about 50 groups of scientists, groups, observers, and people, and all this group. And then I'm in contact with the Portuguese Navy. If you go to the site of Portuguese Navy, we'll see my information there also. And so all this network is what makes the information in Orcas PT available. Yes.
So,
Thanks,
Rui,
that's very helpful, yeah, because exactly, I think when our boat is in Scotland now, but we were in that area a few years ago in Galicia, and we were looking at these kind of maps, and it's
Yes.
hard to interpret what is.
Always speaking, asking always, because the map sometimes is only one part.
Yep.
But then we have to understand, like you said, but there is a big storm now, there is no boat, so maybe we have one attack, but only one. Why? Because there was a storm. There's no reason. Huh? We have this year, for example, in September, end of September, the weather was very bad. We had more attacks in October. Why? Because there was lots of boats were going out of the ports at the same time. These kind of things. So speak with me, keep contact, and we do it together.
Thanks
Pleasure.
very much, Rory. Thanks for that information, and thanks for the fantastic talk.
Pleasure.
So there's a question, for clarification from Brenda saying, did I understand correctly? There were 30,000 boats in the area and 128 tacks and 25 sinkings.
No.
Are those correct numbers?
No, they don't sank. 25 boats, okay? Until now, we had 9 boats that sank in all these years from the 2020, so 6 years, okay? It's 25 boats that go to the yard because the rudder was totally broken, okay? They need to be towed and they go to the yard. It's not that they sank, okay? Sorry for that misunderstanding. There is any evidence of movement of tuna to new areas? Yes, the orcas, they follow the movement of tuna, but we have now the tuna in many places that we had no no tuna before, even because the fishing of tuna now is forbidden in many areas. So because this, we have more tuna in many areas that we had no before. So I don't know if global warming is affecting this, okay, but probably affects lots of things. And
So
the orcas also.
is it a result of conservation techniques that are keeping or managing the fisheries that there's more tuna or something else going on?
Yes, is that the tuna now is forbidden more time of the year. You cannot fish tuna or hunt the tuna in more time of year. So you have
So,
more protection of the tuna.
so we're conserving tuna and giving up rudders.
Yes.
Jolly good too. Martin, do you want to come back
Yes.
to Rui on that? Do you want to open your microphone, Martin? You're muted at the moment, Martin.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Thanks, Rui. That's very interesting.
Hi, Martin.
We've had some orcas coming up to Scotland and certainly the south of England, and perhaps with the movement of tuna, as you mentioned, there will be more interaction. It was just whether the troublesome pods were actually moving further north than Galicia, and whether there was any evidence of their behavior being passed on to other pods.
Yes, we believe, okay, that they teach the others, okay, to do the same, okay. That is the animals, they teach always the other animals, and now we have 3 babies, okay, they are very young now. They probably are going to see the others, and it's possible that they will repeat behavior. Yes, it is. We are not sure that we'll go to other species, to other areas, like you say, okay, the orcas that are in Scotland, that sometimes come south, but they are very Pacific. We saw that there was no problem. That they are going to behave the same way. This is not sure, okay? We
Thank
know
you.
that there is orcas coming from there, but I cannot say that this group are going now to learn from the other group. Inside a group, yes, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
pleasure.
Any other questions at this point? Comments?
I can't see any other hands up, and I think we've done with the list. If anybody else wants to come back in, please put your hand up or put a question in the chat. Fascinating talk, Rui. There's no question this is aggressive behavior. This is play behavior. Is that right? Am I drawing the right conclusion from that? They're not trying to get the people in the boat. They're just playing with the rudder. Is that right?
I always compare this, and I'm not only one with the bicycles and the dogs and all this, you know.
Yeah.
It's and I believe more in that the dogs also follow the bicycles is not because they want to. They will beat you if you stop.
Yeah.
It's the same with the orcas, okay? If you stop, they will destroy your rudder, okay? But they are not upset with you, let's say. And I believe in that thing. They are doing this because they see there something is moving, okay? I am not now searching for tuna. I have time now. It's boring. What I'm going to do? Oh, I'm going to follow the boat. And then there is this thing there that's moving. Why this thing is moving? So I will break it like they do in the tuna, or they do it.
But they would equally, if you were stationary, they would still attack you. So you said, you've got to keep moving to get out of the area quickly. But if you stop, that doesn't
They
dissuade
stop,
them.
they will use the time to play with the rudder, to force your rudder to the sides, to side. It's also a question of physics, you know. If you go against object that is stopped, you go with you have a momentum that is stronger, so you go with more force against this. If you is moving, it's more difficult, yeah, to break it. It's like a car goes behind another car. If the car stops, it goes easier. We'll break the car, yeah.
So coming back to the hydrovane type auxiliary rudder, your recommendation would be to take the hydrovane rudder off before you go into the straits, so that you've got it for when.
Yeah, but maybe you will use it if you need it one day as emergency rudder, you know.
Yeah.
But take it off, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
are
wish
not
I
very
had
well
done that.
prepared to do that, but they are not very well prepared to be an install.
And
But
sacrificial rudders rudders with a sacrificial bottom third are definitely a good move. We've seen plenty of rudders sacrificed in the Pacific in the last couple of years for coral reasons, which at least the boat remote can still sail on, even with some reduced steerage. So that's quite a common rudder injury in a coral atoll these days.
There's
Well, with
a
the
question here. We have a question about the size of the boat they prefer. No, there is no size of the boat they prefer. We try to make a statistic, but you'll find not the size that they prefer. You'll find the size that exists in the market. So there are more boats from a size. And for 40 foot is very nice boat. It starts from there, and that's why you find more boats attacked in that area. But you have boats that are very big also. So 30 meters, 35 meters that they try to attack. Of course, the rudder of the boat like this, it's different. It's much stronger. It will not have any trouble, any problem. That's why it
There's a
resists
question
more.
also, Rui, if whether they're going after octopus in shallow water.
Now, the people said, oh, there was workers eating the octopus in the Rias in Galicia. And they make a picture, okay? So let's say for the science, one picture that see one orca eating octopus is not making the science, okay? It's one case in a thousand of things. So they don't eat usually octopus. They went there and there was octopus and they find it nice to play with it and maybe they push it like they play with the ruler, they play with octopus and someone make a picture. But it's not making the science, John. It's
I got to believe eating a big tuna is more satisfying. So, but I think what it really comes down to is just juveniles trying to impress the girls. So
yes.
they're certainly doing a good job of that. Any other questions? This has been a really fun experience for us, and I'm so glad to have everybody involved.
It's wonderful. I've really enjoyed it, and fascinating seeing your first-hand account, Bob, and your authoritative data collection. So this all started 6 years ago, 2020. Is that right?
Yes, 2020.
And you've been collecting your data for the last 4 years, I think I read online somewhere. Is that right?
Yes, from the 2022. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, correct.
And the traffic that you quoted, the figure of 30,000, that's not pleasure boats, that's all craft, is it? Does that include?
Now I'm speaking of all around the peninsula, the Iberic Peninsula. Yes, you have 20,000 to 30,000 sailing boats. It's
sailing boats. Okay.
Sailing boats. Yeah.
So
You have more.
of which 25 in a year end up getting towed into a harbour or needing repairs ashore. So the odds are good.
From statistic point of view, but if it's your boat, it's not nice.
When we checked online the other day, people aren't getting any problems getting insured because of the Orca risk. The insurance companies
until now, no. Until now, the insurance companies are working well and are saying, okay, this is a risk like containers, like other things, and they are not putting difficulties.
So we'll maybe not advertise this webinar to the insurance companies.
Yes, get them away.
I guess the actuaries are more focused on hurricanes in the Caribbean than they are. It's funny, when I moved after almost 10 years in the Caribbean, my insurance for the med was dropped quite a bit, which surprised me. I didn't expect that.
We just got to New Zealand and it's gone down by 50%, which is fantastic.
I guess I figure if you get there, you're smart enough not to.
Don't you believe it? So a few more comments. Sally's come back thanking you for a fascinating account and your amazing information, Rui. When you can see these comments yourself. And Ted Owen's comments too. I'll invite them to come in if they want to state their satisfaction directly. It'd be good if they can. So invited Ted, and I'm inviting John as well. John Cameron.
Well, I know a number of folks, and hello to Ted and Barbara. It's nice, and a couple of other folks that I know. And I just want to say once more that my personality love to get together with folks, and Brenda and I would love to connect. We'll be on our boat Pandora beginning in early May. Excuse me, early April. We'll be on for 2 months in the spring, sailing in the Balearics, and then probably over to Sardinia and then home for the summer. And if anyone has any great ideas of where we can leave our boat for a couple months without having to take out a mortgage, and then go back on the boat for September and October, and we hope to do that for several more years. It's been really great being a part of this discussion. And my email is bob@saltydogsailing.org. I put it in the chat and encourage you to contact me at my WhatsApp number, which is also there. My wife says that one of the things I love doing is talking on the phone, and I think that's true.
Very good. And John Cameron's come online now. Do you want to open your microphone, John?
Yes, thank you. It's been very interesting, really, and I think Bob, you've put the presentation together in a very good format. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's also very nice to just have the clarification on the whole octopus and shallow water in the rear thing.
Yes, it's one case, and so one case doesn't make the science. So we have probably orcas. The orcas, when they swim, they will not say, "Oh, stop! It's 20 meters." Okay, if now
Sure.
I'm stopping here. Okay, but it's not a case that we say, "Okay, it's 100% of the situations." No, it's not. It's one case in 1,000.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I will also say that this format, this more of an interview format, is the first that we have done of this type. With Salty Dog, I've done dozens of webinars, and usually they're more didactic with a series of slides and so forth and so on, which works pretty well. But if anyone has any particular comments that they want to share with me, that would be really helpful, because I know that Rui and I have enjoyed doing this. We've done it a couple of times now. And I think that I guess I'm a big user of audio podcasts. And so it's kind of like an expert being interviewed by someone just that's interested, and that would be me. So I want to thank Rui for this, and also you, Simon,
Pleasure.
for your support in putting this together. It's been really a treat.
It's a pleasure.
Love organizing the webinars, and we tend to have them fairly interactive in this kind of format often, so it works well for us. And thank you everybody for joining in. I see we've had people from Canada, the States, people from Italy, Tasmania. Fantastic turnout tonight. So Rui, thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you do.
It's a pleasure.
And I hope you get a better reception next time you come to Europe, Bob. But
Well, as I've said to the people that I've presented to, where will we be going? Any place without orcas, or at least not without.
How are you going to get home? Are you going to go on through the Red Sea, or are you?
That's another question, isn't it? Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we will solve the problem before I have to leave the man.
Yes,
But I can tell you one thing for sure, it'll be 20 meters or less.
we make an agreement with the orcas to make a break.
Now I know what I should have known.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
And good night from Wales. Bye-bye now.
Take care. Have a good
Take care.
evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.